you be able to do. There we go.
Whew.
Andy's been doing his exercises, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He's out of breath.
I
That's the little noise he makes when he's been exercising. He's like, whoo. He makes
That's-
little owl noises.
I'm a recovery owl. I was gonna look at my phone like I had a script or something I was gonna read from. I don't. I just do it. The only problem with Santino and Andy is this podcast. Well, hello and welcome back to your favorite movie podcast. And we're wasting no time today, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today to talk about the infamous 8th installment in the Star Wars franchise. We're here to talk about Star Wars The Last Jedi, a movie, me, Andy Matsky, that I've seen before, but that my dear friend and podcast co-host, Santino Vitale, had never seen before. We are getting back to what this show is supposed to be, which is you show me a movie that I've never seen before, that's mildly underrated, that I really like, and then I force you to watch a blockbuster that somehow you just haven't seen before. I'm really glad we're getting back into that stride. Enough of this 70s Bigfoot film nonsense. Enough of this
Stranger Things nonsense.
Enough of this Arrival whatever. This show was created with the intention that you would introduce me to really good films and I would force you to watch what the populace, the average man is satisfied to consume.
And let me tell you, I'm not a big fan of the everyman. I can understand why the elites build castles far away from them and keep the commoners down, because I don't like the films of the commoners.
Yeah, you tend to not like the films the commoners make.
No.
This week we're talking about The Last Jedi, which I've already said what it is. A movie you had never seen before. We do synopsises around here, but all I'm going to say is spoiler warning. This
for anyone who hasn't seen this movie that's almost a decade old.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy to think about. I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, because you texted me today at like 2 p.m, like this is going to be an interesting episode, and I have no clue what that means. So we'll see.
I'm deliberately being mysterious and withholding.
Yeah, you pretty much just teased me like, we're going to talk about something on the show. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, let's see. So is there any other banter we have to get into before we get into the meat of this week's show? Check the minutes. Check the.
What do you think of airplane food? Sorry. Hold on.
Okay.
Take 2. What's the deal with airplane food?
I liked that version better.
Yeah.
The deal, I don't know. It's not a deal. It's awful expensive most of the time.
Exactly. And that's the problem, man. We're here to bring down airplane food prices to Ollie's discount goods prices.
Yeah. We're going to do it in 6 easy steps.
Yep. That's our banter, guys. So
that's it. We're a little low on the banter department this week, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know if you've heard, we're like in a quasi recession. And so it really is cutting into the banter budget of the show.
And there's still a ton of snow outside. We haven't really been able to go shopping for any new jokes.
Yeah. So all the joke stores have been closed. Okay, so here's IMDb's synopsis.
I can't wait to hear this.
Rey develops her abilities with the help of Luke Skywalker as the Resistance prepares for battle against the First Order.
That's basically it.
That's basically it. I'd say in accuracy to what's going on, I'd give it a 6 out of 10, because they're not preparing for battle from the First Order. They're running from the First Order the whole time.
Laura Dern and her purple hair. They're running from the battle.
Yeah. Okay. So what were your expectations going into this film? Because did you watch the little Force Awakens synopsis?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched it literally a half hour before I watched the movie and promptly forgot everything in that 4 minutes. I wasn't struggling to keep up. I I care so little about Star Wars that I didn't really keep any of it in my head. Not on purpose, but like I spent the first hour of this movie for whatever reason thinking that Rey and Kylo Ren were siblings, and then realizing that that wasn't the case. Um, so here my expectations. You know what my expectations were when I was gonna watch Rogue One, you know, how they were really low.
Yeah.
My expectations for this were even lower. Like they
Okay.
were through the floor. Like you can't have fewer expectations than these.
That's
Um,
that's also valid. For those of you who have not heard our Rogue One episode, allow me to illuminate you to the fact that Santino's not only is he not interested in what the common man consumes, he doesn't like Star Wars.
no. Well,
So,
and you
I
know, to
mean,
be
as a franchise, I mean, yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. You can defend yourself.
Well,
I'll see
it's
that.
not even so much a defense so much as it's just so that people understand my mood, right? The reason I don't care for Star Wars is because when I was a kid, I was really into Star Wars. And then I watched episode 3 of the prequel trilogy. And by the end of that movie, I went, I hate Star Wars now. Like it was such a dumb movie. My Star Wars phase ended at that movie. And then I never paid attention to it after that because before I would watch, you know, I had the VHSs. I would watch the original trilogy and then, you know, Jar Jar Binks and everything else. So I didn't pay attention to it after the prequel trilogy. And so yeah, you can't have very much lower expectations than I had going into this one last night.
And what's funny with your whole thing about the plot, uh, like and remembering the Force Awakens
Mm.
thing, it's really a disservice. I realize that there's two things I'm about to say. I think it's really a disservice that I didn't make you watch TFA for no other reason, which TFA is a hilarious abbreviation because you save a syllable, but The Force Awakens, because the tone difference in these two movies is kind of a shame you don't get that because and this is not me doing damage control already, I promise. The Force Awakens is just a blockbuster Star Wars movie. J.J.
Right.
Abrams kind of bland normal thing.
That's the thing. I was surprised you weren't having me watch that one because
And then
J.J. Abrams.
then you transition to this movie,
Mhm.
which is something related but quite different. The funny side of that is I spent the first hour of the movie going, okay, wait, why are they the resistance? And why isn't the like Republic helping? And then I remembered the Republic literally blows up in The Force Awakens. That's like the First Order's whole thing.
Yeah.
That's very understated in the movie is they like blow up the Republic. And so I was like, oh, that's the stakes. That's why the resistance is the resistance and the First Orders. The bad guys, even though they've just kind of emerged, which it was kind of like this. It's funny because I like these movies and I forgot that.
Right.
And was kind of like, wait, what's going on again? I mean, I understand the First Order's chasing them, but where's everybody else? It's like, oh yeah, everybody else blew up. And I think the opening crawl might say something to that effect,
It
but
does.
it's like
I
let's see.
read the opening crawl. So as you know, usually when I watch these movies, Dad's usually subject to watching these movies
Yeah.
as well. And he's if I only just kind of am indifferent to Star Wars, he actively dislikes Star Wars. And when the crawl came on, he's like, "You need to fast forward through this." And I was like, "No, this is important info." And I stream read the crawl out loud to us, like really loud, just yelling the crawl. So because I did that, I absorbed none of the information. So it probably said that in the crawl. I don't remember what it said. So the movie started, and I went, okay. It starts with action. Like we're right in the middle of like a big
Yeah.
fight. I was like, okay, cool, I'm on board. And the first thing that struck me about this was, gee, there are compositions, and there's contrast to the image, and I can actually see things, and there's like deep focus. Because that was one of the things that irritated me a lot about Rogue One was that there were no particular compositions. Everything was just very shallow depth of field, and it was just kind of evenly dim.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, because my expectations were so low, I was like, golly gee, look, there's contrast and composition. This movie, I'll say this just to lead. This movie looks really good. This movie, you can see the money on the screen.
Oh yeah.
It's a good looking movie. There's only, I think I counted, there's like two, maybe three bad composites in the whole thing, and it's toward the end. And it's kind of a, they're short shots, so they're not really tricky, but you could tell that they had just, you allocated resources somewhere else.
You can tell they're the pickups, I think,
Yeah.
is like what it is. You can tell what's the pickups and what's not. But yeah, this movie looks like Star Wars wise, it looks like nothing else immediately. And it's
Right.
like, whoa. This movie looks, I don't know, this movie looks shot in some ways that
It's very
I don't mean
tactile.
like, yeah, it's like that's the right word. It doesn't necessarily feel like, like gritty found footage, or not found footage, but like handheld camera stuff. But it feels like, okay, we're in a place like grounded, and that helps. And that's like the movie looks like it's had the budget it does.
Mhm.
The movie looks like a 30 or $300 million
Mm.
movie,
And
right?
it
So
looks like a Star Wars movie. Like
yeah,
Rogue One just kind of looked like generic Gareth Edwards sci-fi, but this looks like a Star Wars movie. And what little I've seen of the movie that comes before this and after this that J.J. Abrams did, which would be what, episode 7 and episode 9.
yeah,
Those two movies also, I mean, they all kind of look fairly unified considering that it's two different directors. The visual sensibilities of it look correct. The color palette is basically the same insofar as I've
yeah,
seen pieces of the other movies. JJ obviously is bigger on shallow depth of field because, he's usually pretty wide open, anamorphic, and a lot more lens flares, whereas Ryan Johnson didn't really get down with that. And honestly, I really liked the way he handled the visual side of this movie. Like, if there was nothing else, I was struck by just how good looking this movie was and how all the shots worked. And I was like, this is cool.
that's what I remember catching my interest when I saw it in theaters. And I mean, when this come out, this came out in
2017.
2017, so I was 14.
Yeah.
So I was just getting into this stuff for real. But and it even struck me this time where it's like immediately this film looks different. And I mean, especially since Rogue One, because think about it, and it's kind of funny.
Rogue One
So,
came out the year before.
well, yeah, in some way, you had the experience of going to see Star Wars in 2016 and 2017, which was these two movies back to back,
Mm.
which was really, really a wild time in Star Wars fandom
Mm.
because they are so different. And that's kind of what you had this this sandbox you felt like you were in, where it's like, okay, we can get the Gareth Edwards Rogue One,
Right.
which feels so different, and we can get the Ryan Johnson, J.J. Abrams polished Skywalker saga stuff.
Mm.
And
And
this is what
didn't the Abrams movie come out in 2015, right?
the year before
Force
Rogue One.
Awakens?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 years in a row went bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a thing.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, here we are. And
Mm.
I want to continue that thought later. That's kind of my introduction to that moment, what this moment felt like back then, which is kind of funny at this point. But yeah, we're struck to that. And so then this opening battle includes both, like, you're introduced to the visuals, but you're introduced to the way this movie handles its characters, which is where we meet Poe Dameron, who's the fighter pilot.
What a great
Funny name.
What a great name. Tinky Winky and Poe,
And we're introduced to the humor of this movie
which doesn't work at all.
immediately. Do you think it doesn't work?
Doesn't work at all. The humor in this movie is such a, so here's the thing. I'm gonna jump the gun a bit because I'm
Jump
not
it.
gonna be withholding. I liked this movie. You'll find out how much I like this movie later on, but I enjoyed this movie. Now that is on a Star Wars scale. That's not on a
Okay. I
regular
was gonna
movie
say.
scale. That said, the thing that I liked the least about this movie is the dialogue, which largely is where your humor is. And I found
That's
the visual humor was fun, and the character, like the little side characters, are fun, but the dialogue was just awful.
I
It was
think
very Marvel humor dialogue shoehorned into this thing, and it didn't work.
I would agree with your assessment that the dialogue is not great.
Yeah.
I think the humor of this movie works. I think maybe because we're almost a decade removed from when this movie came out, that was fresh enough at the time
Well, sure,
that
you
it,
were in the middle of the Joss
yeah.
Whedon Marvel takeover where everything was witty and edgy, but even for this, or even for that period, I don't think this is a high
I
mark.
think it I think it works in some ways. I think it's not all the time, but I think especially in that opening bit, I think it works, which is that's a difference in
Yeah.
take. But I think it adds it's part of what this movie does different that I think works
Mm.
most of the time. There's certainly times that it doesn't. And again, the dialogue thing we can pull that apart as we
Oh yeah,
go
we will.
because I think whole characters are there to serve dialogue purposes, like
Hmm.
to just deliver exposition. So,
Oh yes.
um, okay, so we have that opening battle. What
Tinky
else?
Winky,
What else?
La La,
Uh,
Po, all the Teletubbies are
Pee
present.
Pee Papa Popo.
Pee Pee Popo, yeah. Pee Pee Poo Poo Potty, they're all there.
Mm.
That's my Indian name, by the way. Pee Pee Poo Poo Potty. Um,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
wow.
Uh, so yeah, so we have the opening fight, and that's really fun. And then we just start piling characters on the screen. And this is one of those movies where the first 30 minutes of it, there's kind of so much going on. I couldn't really tell you the order in which things happen in hindsight, because it's kind of like, well, we get Ray, but then we get Kylo, and then we get this person, and then there's Domhnall Gleeson, and then, oh, there's that guy, and then, well, no, wait, he blew up. Okay. Well, there's them over there, and then like the bombers show up. And there's a lot of things that happen in the action of this movie. This is going to sound very negative because, in general, I think the majority of this movie works. But there are things within the action where it's kind of like, just don't think about it too hard. Like that,
Mm-hmm.
like this
Oh
movie
yeah,
is,
it's star.
yeah.
So there's and I might as well link it in the description as I remember if I remember to. There is a Patrick Willems video essay about this movie, why he likes it, and he starts it with saying it's a space wizard movie made for children.
Hmm.
That's
Fair
our
enough.
like should be our agreed baseline for like when we're talking about this movie. And I think there is a lot of moments in it, especially in its action, that don't add up, and I don't think they need to in some
No,
ways.
we
And
just
explain what
kind of,
example you mean. I kind of like jumped on that
well,
immediately, but
I mean, the first thing that happens, like right out of the gate, is they're trying to bomb whatever that one big ship is, right? I'm not going to remember names of ships. This goes.
something.
It's one of the war freighter things. They're going to bomb it.
It's a somethinger.
Yeah,
I
and
think.
Poe's trying to shoot out all the cannons so that the bombers can come in. And Poe's in like an X-wing, so he's going fast, and the bombers show up, and they're all bottom heavy with these bombs, and they're just kind of going at like 2 miles an hour, and no one seems to be defending them. And I'm going, well, what was really the idea? Okay, we were going to go and we are going to do this, and then you guys get to just kind of go, ooh, like really slowly. It's like
Yeah.
it feels like you guys were able to launch them at light speed. Could you not just arrive light speed right over the ship instead of like 100 feet from it, and then take the next
Yeah.
10 minutes getting close to it as you get picked off? There's that, and then another thing that I don't know if maybe I missed something in early Star Wars movies, if my memory is bad. It probably is. I don't know at what point we decided that like people can stand in an open cockpit exposed to space and be fine and not
I
get
think
sucked
Star
into
Wars
the
is
atmosphere.
inconsistent like that. Yeah, I think it's one thing that it goes back and forth.
Because later, spoiler, Leia gets sucked into space. And then, but earlier,
That's
there's
not
that
too
like,
much later in the movie.
no, well, that's about halfway through the movie. But earlier in the movie, like at the beginning, there's that Asian woman who's like she's the last bomber, and she's like laying on a grate at the bottom of the ship. The cargo hold is open, like the bomb doors are open, but she's breathing. And like the
Yeah.
vacuum of space, and we do this multiple times where characters just stand in front of a gaping hole. Again, I don't really care. It's Star Wars, like you said, it's just a big space
Mhm.
wizard thing for kids. But like you kind of look at that and you go, I guess space just decided to take the day off today. Like the vacuum of space has it's on break.
My answer to that doesn't even make sense, so I'm not going to hazard it. Which is they're in the atmosphere still because the ships fall. So there's
Mhm.
gravity question mark, but like again, space wizard movie.
Right. It doesn't
Um,
matter. But that's what I mean by like there's
Yeah.
things that happen where you kind of go, don't think too hard about it. Just like, this whole movie's plot, I was actually surprised, not unlike Rogue One. The entire plot is basically just one big chase scene. The
Mm,
entire plot, I told Dad this morning, and this is both, well, it's not what works about the movie. I think the movie works in spite of this, in spite of what I'm about to say. Watching this movie plot wise was literally like, how sometimes you'll play a chess match where you each kill each other's pieces all the way down to just a king, and then you just chase each other one move around the board. That's what this felt like. It kind of felt like check, check,
hmm
check, check. Like they would move a little bit, and then the bad guys would be like, blam, check, and they'd be like, how about over here? And they'd be like, blam, check, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go over here, blam, check, and we did that for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Um, which does get redundant toward the end. I feel like, by the time we get to, oh, we're abandoning ship, and then Laura Dern zap light blasts herself through the other ship, and then we're going to go to the planet for one last stand. It's like you've had three one last stands. Just flip
Yeah.
a coin. We don't need the last two one last stands. Like you could have shaved 30 minutes out of this movie, it would have been fine. I wasn't bored, but I was really starting to feel that 2.5 hours. And it was because we were just going check, check, check. Like
You
yeah,
feel the half of the 2.5 hours.
you do.
And I am not gonna I will defend this movie a lot. I will not defend that.
No.
I will not
That's,
defend that last like half an hour is there,
mm.
man. Like,
It just felt like they had three or four different endings and they went, let's just use them all. And it's like, no, you can there's an extravagance here and a self-indulgence that we didn't really need. But that's what I mean about like the movie does stuff where it's like, don't think too hard about it.
well, yeah, and
Like,
I
we're
like,
gonna fly over here and they're we're now out of range of their guns, so won't damage our shields. I'm like, but they're lasers. It's light.
yeah,
We can see light from millions of light years away, so there is no range to light. They're like, well, so, but even if okay, fine, like that doesn't matter. But then my question is, if there is a range to their weaponry, does this mean that you guys are just flying a little faster than them to stay ahead of
yeah.
them?
I know
How are
it's
they not
okay. So
catching up
in
to you?
Star Wars logic, to explain part of this, sorry, a big Cleveland Cavaliers news just happened. If you saw my
Oh, they
face,
won.
uh, yeah, they did. They won.
They won life, guys.
They won life. In Star Wars logic, there's shields
Mm-hmm.
on things.
Yeah.
That helps. But the speed of like they're moving and we're moving is like funny.
Yeah, that's fun.
I like
Because
I
we're
do
staying
like
out of range, which means you're staying farther away from them, which means you have to
yeah,
be going a little faster than them, which makes me wonder, is this the fastest the bad guys can go? And if so, why don't they just send fighters out to catch up to you?
yeah. There's a lot. I do like, again, this is kind of like don't think too hard about it. Close your
Exactly.
ears, la 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 la. I
Mhm.
like that it's one big chase film that takes place over a couple days.
Yeah.
Um as a star, it's another thing that this does that Star Wars hasn't really done before.
Mhm.
Um
That's why I
at le-
say I feel like it works in spite of that.
yeah,
And you figure
it's
that the whole movie is just them going, how about now? Oh, how about now?
yeah.
And yet it still works.
Yeah, it is fun. I think it's a fun little twist that also, like, even watching it, there's kind of things where it's like, oh, it's probably just some, like, there's tons of moments in this movie where the movie explains itself in some ways where it's like, is that a ship leaving our craft? No, it's just debris. Oh, okay. Like, there's so many moments where it's like, oh, okay, but it's
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Yeah. And we'll get to it Star Wars, I think, in our wrap up because there's like a point I think you and I think we'll be in agreement on that. Um but yeah, so just right out of the gate, that's some of the first things I thought of was just, oh wow, this looks really good and the dialogue is terrible. Not all the time, but like half the time. And I must have had such low expectations. I went, I don't know, this is fine. I'm enjoying myself. Did I care about any of the characters? Not really, but I was invested enough to be interested.
To your credit, I knew I wrote it down. Within the first like half, to your credit of the dialogue being bad,
Mm,
within the first like 20 minutes, a motif of this movie is going, where's so and so?
mhm.
Where's
Yeah,
Finn? Where's
right.
Ray? Where's Poe?
Yeah, they just lose
Where's
track
it's
of
like,
each other all the time.
where's Han? Where's Luke? It's like,
Mhm.
how is this what how is this what we're doing so much? Like I notice it
Mhm.
really,
Well,
really bad.
when she goes to Iceland, not Iceland, but Iceland, I'm assuming that's where they shot it, where,
I
Luke
think it's
has
Ireland.
oh, is it Ireland? Some big craggy rocky place in the north, where with all the not puffins that are there.
Yeah.
Um,
The porgs is
yeah.
so great.
Um, they're just Star Wars
Oh,
puffins.
yeah, wait. No, no, no. I am just going to take this moment and ask you point blank, what did you think of porgs?
They were the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen. But I was like, well, no, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. The porgs, whatever. That's not really where it's at. In my notes, I almost texted this to you last night, but then I thought, no, I'm not going to keep texting him through the movie because I don't think I'm not paying attention. But I wrote in my notes, OMG, frog nuns.
Yeah, the frog nuns are great.
That's better than the pork. I don't give a crap about the little not puffins. The frog nuns were killing me. I went, well, this is great. I want to see a whole thing with frog nuns. They're over there going, "Meh, meh, 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 meh," like it's like Jim Henson Land. I think they were practical mostly. They
Yeah.
seemed to be. And they had like they're like the flying nun. They got the thing, the habit on,
There's
and I'm like, this
there's
is just
the part where the rock goes down and
mhm.
breaks their
Blam.
carts
Yeah,
and they're just
I
holding
laughed
the
out loud.
handles.
I laughed out loud when that happened. It
Oh,
just shatters the wheelbarrow, and they're like, ah, like that. And this is see when we talk about the humor in the movie. I think I misunderstood your initial statement. The humor of the movie, the physical humor like that, it works. I like it. I
hmm,
think it's fine. It's just whatever they do in the dialogue rubs me the wrong way. When they try to be jokey with the dialogue, I don't like it. But
that's fair. I like
that
some of that too.
that was fun. So yeah, porgs, I don't know, but the frog nuns, those are my jam. That was fun.
Awesome.
But when she first arrives at not Ireland and talks to Luke, she's there just kind of bugging him for days. And
Yeah.
what's funny is every time he asks her, like, who are you? She tells him everything other than what's important, which is, who are you? She's like, well, Leia wants you. She never really says why. And then he's like, well, where's Han? It's like, there's just all these
Yeah.
weird
Where's
questions.
Han is one of the
Yeah,
where's yeah.
right. Because Chewie shows up and then he's like, well, where's Han? And then we just cut away. It's just, we
Yeah.
never really answer his questions.
Since you I don't want to just like because you said you liked it, so I'm not trying to talk you into liking this movie, but part of
But
since
you're
you
going
didn't
to
watch
cry
The
anyway.
Force Awakens, I'm gonna try to it's just explaining
Mm.
basic things of if you had actually if I had made you watch a whole nother movie just to watch this movie, you're
Mhm.
welcome for not doing that.
Yeah.
A movie you would have liked probably less. Um the ending of The Force Awakens is Rey walking up to Luke in not Ireland. And
Right.
so it makes that it's like this big, oh my goodness, Luke's back
Mhm.
legacy sequel moment that then him just flipping the lightsaber is
Mhm.
like this like wait, what?
Well,
And that's
I
like
still felt that. Like I
yeah,
knew that's how that one ended, even without the recap. I knew that was like,
yeah,
it was such a cultural phenomenon in 2015. I knew that
that's fair.
shows up at the end. So the joke of him looking at it and just going, "Meh," like the comic timing of just throwing it over his shoulder,
Mhm.
it worked. I laughed. I went, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because again, I wasn't prepared for comedy. So every
No,
time that would
yeah.
happen, I was just kind of going, okay, I guess we're doing that then. And then he just like ambles away and she follows him around for however long as he goes about his routine and drinks weird hot green milk from those things. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, this is something. We're doing all kinds of
I
stuff
think
that
that moment that's definitely one of the places where we could cut the runtime down is her just kind of following him around.
nothing's accomplished.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
really bad rainy for our day for rainy shot I noticed
Mhm.
this time around. I know you said these movies it's well shot, but
Mhm.
you can see the light on the water.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we had $300 million and we couldn't
Even with
tone the
$300 million,
highlights down a little bit.
even with 300, well, you can never get rid of specular highlights. You have to just get them. You'd have to replace everything completely. That's one thing that you can't really do all that easily. But even with all the money in the world, you still have a schedule. And, that day just happened to be a bright day. And it's like, well, we can either shoot this now or we can be behind for, days. So
Yeah.
let's just shoot it now. Um, yeah. So, then they're in the rain and we do that thing. And then he's like, I'm not going to train you. And then later he's like, I'll train you. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, "You went to the dark place really fast." She's like, "Ah, but where were you?" Like, I don't know what we're doing here, but
Yeah.
okay. It was funny, and it was funny at times when I was fairly certain it wasn't trying to be. This is no Malignant by any stretch of the imagination, but there are moments in it where I'm like, I don't know if that's what we were going for, but yeah,
Like which one? Like which? I'm
like that.
not.
Like that moment. He's like,
Yeah.
"You went to the darkness really fast." She's like, "Well, where were you?" It's we swing wildly between like dumb Marvel humor and then melodramatic moments that feel super disconnected and
Yeah.
out of place. And then like Adam Driver is a good actor. I like him, but he's not a villain, and I can't take him seriously as a villain. He kind of works here,
I
but then
don't
he
think
also kind
he's.
of doesn't.
I don't
I
think
have I
he's
haven't made up
supposed.
my mind.
I don't think he's. Again, I will defend this movie in a lot of places. I don't think he's supposed to be the villain
Hmm.
villain of this film.
Well, and technically he showed up in the previous film. So that
Yeah.
casting, that character is on J.J. Abrams. It's not on this film.
And I think there's moments with him that are 100% supposed to be like funny that the movie plays super serious. Like
Could be.
the whenever they're like forced FaceTiming.
I was literally, that's what I was calling it last night. I'm like, what's up with this FaceTime call? Because when it first happened, I didn't know what the heck was going on. Like I'm looking at
Yeah.
her, and then he's looking off screen, and they're like looking at each other. I'm like, is there
Or yeah.
what's happening? I
That
think out loud I was like, are we doing this? Is this what we're doing? And then like
yeah.
they start talking to each other. I'm like, holy crap, we're doing the thing. Is that a
It's
thing that Jedi could do before the
not
trilogy?
previously. It takes several times watching this movie to get used to that part of the movie.
Yeah.
I think this was the time I watched it and felt like it worked the most.
It took me an hour to get used to that crap, and I was still making fun of it,
Because
even
the
by
movie
an
could
hour in.
shoot it in a way that feels less weird. That's what I don't understand. Is like it intentionally does this, like we're going to be in different locations and we're not going to see the other person and we're going to do shot for reverse shot. We're never going to have them like in the same room till the one moment
Mhm.
where Luke blows everything up. And so the movie shoots it in a way that makes it more confusing. Whether that's intentional or not, I don't care. I'm not trying to defend this
Mhm.
movie that hard, but I do think if we had one like okay, the worlds are kind of blending together, or like seeing them both in the same shot in those moments early on would have helped instead of making it this thing that we kind of have to put together where
Mhm.
like they can just see the other one. You get that and not,
Well, she
but
can
you,
see his environment. He couldn't see hers.
yeah, which that's dialogue that tells us that.
Right.
And yet he can get like water from her environment,
Mhm.
like, matter can transfer through this. It's a space wizard movie,
I
and it
just
could have made it clearer.
I loved in that first, I think it's the first time that it happens. It again, I don't know if this was supposed to be funny, but I laughed out loud because Adam Driver's like, "Can you see me?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you see my surroundings?" And she's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I can't see yours." I'm like, "This is a really casual conversation we're having."
I love how,
Like,
yeah,
they're like, "So what are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know,
there's this weird
chilling."
tension to them
Hmm.
in this movie that is so interesting that they could capture on screen.
That's why I thought
Like
they were brother and sister or something, because they talk like,
yeah,
"So how's dad? How we doing?"
yeah,
Again, it either feels like brother and sister tension or there's some other weird tension. I can't figure it out.
or
And I'm
there's
just like, well, they have
romantic
to be,
tension,
which is also
which
strange.
is weird because in the previous film, Kylo's just a villain, just beats up Ray, not you know, beats up Ray, and like they face off a couple times. There's
Right.
no other, and like Ray kicks Kylo's butt
Mhm.
is the thing, like in the first movie. So he's like, "Hey, girl,
Yeah, it was weird.
can you put on a shirt?" No.
No, yeah, that was funny. That's what I'm saying. Like stuff like that was happening. I'm just kind of like, okay,
This
we're
is
in
what we're
this.
doing.
This is what we're doing now. And he, especially on his end, and I think it's partially because of the way Adam Driver delivered his lines, which is what made it so funny. Because she was basically stone faced through most of the movie. She had like one monotone delivery of everything. Daisy Ridley's not like got a huge range, at least not in this movie. I haven't seen her in anything else. But Adam Driver's doing this delivery through every one of those FaceTimes where he's just like, "So what's new? Like we're doing this now," and he seems And I'll give him credit. I don't know if this was the direction, but he seems genuinely a little puzzled as to why he can see her and vice versa. And then he feels kind of like, well, we might as well talk while we're here. So
Yeah.
what do you want to do? Like it just feels it's such a weird departure because he's so vindictive in other places. And then he's gonna just be like, oh, I think I'm gonna get some McDonald's. You want some McDonald's? Like you could
It's a
pass it through to me, you know. I wouldn't
yeah.
have to come all the way over there. Which by the way, then it's like, because while they're doing that, he also like wants to know where Luke is. So it's like, hey, we could order some McDonald's. You could pass it through to me. By the way, like, is Luke over there? I could real quick, I could get his address if you want to just like, no reason. It's not like I want to kill him and flay his skin, but like, could you just like, if I wanted to get to where you are,
Yeah.
what would that look like? Could you draw me a map? Like, it was just such a weird tension of like,
I think we're discussing a moment that's one of my points because I made some notes before we started talking about like why I liked this movie, and I wrote that the characters are actually people in this movie as opposed to just like
yeah,
they have like a layer or two to them, and they have like the characters actually have personality in this movie
yeah.
as opposed to Star Wars where it's like Han's annoyed,
Mm-hmm.
Luke's thinking, Leia's bossing them around.
Mm-hmm.
These characters are kind of like they feel more like real people, and I think that's part of the humor of this movie that I like.
Yeah. Well,
Is there's
that's
like
definitely what Ryan Johnson brings to it, is he's
yeah,
all
there's
character.
there's like that's even like the humor of like even some of the Whedon-y dialogue of
Mm-hmm.
like uh Jordan or have I read Jordan person? I just read just doxed somebody. Jordan. That's it's like even the weird moments with like Luke and Ray,
Mm-hmm.
like Luke's just messing with Ray, and like
Mm-hmm.
they feel like real people, and that's kind of fun in a
Yeah.
Star Wars movie where it's like I don't even want to use a buzzword of like grounded because I don't think it's even
It's not
that.
grounded. No.
It's not grounded. It's just like, oh no, these are like real characters.
These are some characters, yeah. No, we and like I said, this whole thing's kind of just one big chase and it repeats a lot of beats, so I'm not too concerned with going in chronological order here so much as just talking around the big points because it's a 2.5 hour movie. So like we're not going to go as beat by beat with this, I don't think. But um, you know, I think the thing that took me out of the movie the most, because again, we talk about the buy-in, we talk about suspension of disbelief. I After the first 30 minutes went, okay, fine, I guess we can breathe in space now, and I guess we can do this, and I guess we're gonna do that. And there's these weird talking little things, and there's those little animals, and there's the frog nuns, and it's like, okay, we're just gonna do this. Like, fine, I'm in. And then they blow up the ship, the part of the ship that has Leia in it, and she and all the crew get sucked out into space. I was like, oh, cool, they actually like killed a legacy character. Interesting. And then we have that weird close up of her in space where she's like twitching, and then she like I guess uses the force to launch herself back into the ship
Mm-hmm.
and then promptly passes out again. And I was like, okay, first of all, does Leia have the force? Bless you.
Thank you.
And
Leia does have the Force. Yes, she's
okay,
a Skywalker.
good. Good to know. Glad that was established. Also,
It was established in the original trilogy. Yeah.
sure. And then
Yeah.
was it? I don't really
Yes.
remember that. That she had the
Yes.
force?
She's a Skywalker. So
I know she's a
and Luke.
Skywalker, but did we establish that she had the
Yes.
force in the original trilogy?
I don't know
I
if we
don't
do,
think
but
so.
that's the way the Force works, though. It's
Okay,
like
fine.
if Luke's got it, she got it.
That works. It's like a cold. But but all right, fine, she's got the force. But then I'm thinking, all right, well, clearly space works the way it used to before this movie started, because you got sucked out into space, but now you're just like, are you holding your breath? How are you not dead? You've got
Yeah.
like frost crystals on you, but you're just gonna float back into the ship. Everything about that, I just kind of went, well, whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing here. Like it lost me for a solid like 5 minutes there. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then
Valid.
we get the weird little thing between like the little Korean woman and the black stormtrooper, Finn, and they decide that they're gonna go after talking to that weird little dude that looked like a video game
Maz Kanata
animatic.
is
Yeah,
from The Force Awakens. But yeah.
they talk to him and he's like, "You need the ultimate
That's a
code
lady.
breaker."
It's a lady.
Whatever, I
It's a
don't care. I'm gonna misgender the aliens. I don't care. Like pew pew pew. You need a code breaker. And they're like, well, we don't really have a lot of time. Can't we? And they're like, nope, you need this one. Go get him. Bye. And he leaves. And then they're like, fine, whatever. We're gonna take this escape pod and go to this other planet at light speed. And then it's like a casino planet. And the
Yep.
minute we get there, it's just like all the dumbest characters, all the weirdest side characters in all the previous Star Wars, all the Jar Jar Binkses, all the little cantina guys. It's like that on steroids. And there's that weird little dude that's like putting coins in the BB-8, and I'm like, well, I guess we're doing this now. And he's like drunk. I'm going, well, this is a good time. We're just gonna do whatever we want. And then they find the dude, and it's Justin Theroux with a pencil mustache and a wig, and I'm like, wow, they really went all out on the casting. And then we just never see him again. They end up in prison with Benicio del Toro, who looks exactly like Brad Pitt in low lighting, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
and then we just do that. And I was like, okay. And then they ride the big dog giraffe things.
You're narrating what I don't know what you're there for if this is going to be, but you're narrating like what the experience of this movie is perfectly, which is like, and now we're like somewhere completely different. And this guy's here, but then we end up in prison with Benicio del Toro. Like that
Yeah.
is like that's the ride that is this movie.
Benicio
Then there's a
del
weird giraffe,
Toro with like
a space stuff.
grammar.
Yeah,
He's got like like he'll like stammer through his lines sometimes. I'm like, that's an interesting choice. And he's a code breaker. And then they ride around on some things. And then they get Deus Ex Machina again by BB-8, who turns out isn't flying the ship, but has been doing a lot of other things and later will do even more things. And you're kind of like, I guess this character is as good as any. Like, oh, that was one of the very first comedy things that happened. I want to rewind really quickly. The beginning of the movie. So Poe is flying around and like his system gets fried or something. And so BB-8 needs to like get into the mainframe and do whatever. And so he starts like trying to poke at things. And I looked at it and I went, I can't believe we're doing this. They were literally doing the thing where it's like you poke here and then it comes out here and then you poke there and it comes out there and then you poke there. I'm like, wow, we're doing like this is like a Tom and Jerry thing. And then eventually just like sticks his whole head in it. I'm like, okay. So he just kind of continuously keeps saving people's butts out of nowhere, even though he has no arms. All this to say, we get off of the casino planet, and yeah, more stuff happens, and then there's a mutiny because Laura Dern's got purple hair and nobody likes her. But it turns out she's okay in the end because they had a plan. And I'm like, well, it would have been good to actually tell us the plan though, because
yeah,
as much as Oscar Isaac is like this hothead, trigger happy commander, like he is right though. Like, hey, we're in a life and death situation. You do have a plan, right? And she's just like, shh, leave. And it turns out the plan was we're going to get in these escape pods once we get close enough to this planet that you didn't know existed. And we're going to try to make a desperate run for it while I stay behind on the ship. Which, by the way, another dumb thing is like, I get that I'm jumping all around here, but she
no,
uses the
jump,
ship to
jump.
like light speed and blow up the other ship, right? Which is a great move. What I couldn't figure out was this whole time you're watching all of them get picked off one by one. Why didn't you just
I thought that this
like,
time.
in the way? You didn't even have to like blast through. You could have just like you could have broad faced the ship, broadsided the ship so that like you absorbed the cannon fire so they were out of view of the other, like the enemy ship. Is that not an option?
It well, here's a
You
couple
could
things that are
literally be their
apparently
shield.
weren't options. One, to defend my boy Poe,
Uh-huh.
he was right because a bunch of those ships got obliterated.
True.
And it took like 9 ships getting blown up for Laura Dern to be like, "Oh, I should probably fight back."
Yeah, that's the dumb
which
part.
which like I think that move is I think the light speed ram
Mm-hmm.
is cool. There's all sorts of nerds that will complain that that's not how light speed in Star Wars works, which is hilarious.
That's
Like
exactly how it works. We've seen it work that way literally in the beginning of this movie. They're like, and they're just there.
well, and it's like that you wouldn't actually hit things or you wouldn't I don't know what their complaint is, but it's like, okay, we're going to
They're breathing in space, and Leia launched herself back into the cockpit. Like, we can do whatever we want.
yeah, it's a movie. That's kind of like part of this is like, no, this literally is what they can do. Did you just see like we just
Mhm.
saw it. They just did
They
it.
just did it. We
Luke
just had like little pog things like piloting the ship with
Luke is that guy in the
yeah,
movie. I just saw him say the thing. Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, that's kind of my part of my rebut with this movie. Um, but yeah, that is a weird. It's a in the end, it's a cool moment, but everything leading up to it's kind of silly. I think there's some people who will overreact about Laura Dern's character. Um, and I think that's kind of funny. Who will think that like, oh, it's just trying to be a girl boss. Look, she's ultimately right. But I think what's funny is the movie makes you not trust her and dislike her.
Right.
And then it turns out she has this. But like that's what the movie congratulations, you just felt what the movie wanted you to.
Right.
And then the redemption isn't really
It's not that big a deal.
completely satisfying to that. It's not like a perfect
Well,
landing.
especially because she didn't do anything until more than half of those escape pods are blown up, and she's like, "Oh, I remembered I could pilot this ship." Again, you
Yeah.
could have at the very least gotten in the way.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
It's
The ships, the escape pods could have flown in a single file line, and you could have flown in front of them, and then it'd be like, "Oh, where'd they go?" Like you can't shoot at them now. Like there's just so many
uh,
options, even within the realm, like within the confines of the universe and the rules that it sets up. Like there's things you could have done, and I was just kind of like, "Well, whatever."
but I think the Lightspeed ramp's a cool moment for
That was cool.
sure. I
That's
think
kind of
that
another one of those things though, where you go, "Okay, we did that," and then the big ship is like, "Whoa." Bust apart, right?
yeah.
And then we just kind of flash forward and now they're on the planet. And guess what? All the bad guys managed to get off that cratered ship and
Yeah.
somehow I'm
Well, not
sure
all the bad guys. There's like a
all
dozen
the important
the
ones.
big things and the important guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the big things were still enough for them to go and like how'd you get all that gear down there? Like I didn't see
Yeah.
any other ship land and your ship was literally broken in half, but I guess it's okay. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Like do what
Yeah.
you want to do. That's why I thought like the final confrontation on the ship was going to be the final confrontation. And after the lightspeed thing, I went, okay, cool.
And that's why it should have been the final confrontation.
Right.
I think this movie, and we're jumping all around, but this movie should end within like 10 minutes of that moment between Rey and Kylo.
Right.
It should end
Mhm.
there. I don't care how many plot holes, loose ends it would leave. It should end within 10 minutes of that.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
that's
Going to that planet and then doing another 30 minutes of that is like, wow, we didn't need this.
yeah, and then Luke shows up and it's like, okay. But wait, before we get to Luke showing up,
Yeah.
what did you think of Rey and Kylo with Snoke with the CG bad guy moment? What do you think of that? Because
So,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
well, go ahead. You were going
No,
to
no,
say,
no,
ask
no. I'm asking you what you think, and I'm not going to tell you what I think yet. Why would I do
me
that?
what to think, Andy. What do I
I'm not going to
think?
tell you what to think.
Um, I, well, the character who I accidentally, my dyslexia, when the opening crawl came on, I read as Snork. And then it took me like a solid 15 minutes of them saying Snoke.
Yeah,
Yeah. I still can't really get it before I realized, oh, it's not Snork. I'm going to continue to refer to him as Snork, though. So Colonel Snork or whatever. Um, I was impressed with his design. You could still tell it was CG, but like
yeah,
it was very good CG. It was very high level. There were a handful of shots where he looked pretty darn tactile. It looked pretty good.
yeah.
Um, I just remember thinking like, man, you can see the money in this movie, man. But that's not what you asked. You asked what I think of the moment with them and him. I thought the moment was kind of dumb because we'd been getting this build up of like, oh, Kylo's gonna turn, and he really kind of doesn't. He's just had enough of the boss, right? Like that's really whatever.
Hmm.
But I thought it was kind of dumb because like he just kind of keeps Snork just kind of keeps levitating Rey around, which was pretty funny.
Yeah,
And then like he keeps talking about like this Jedi power or whatever where he can like read people's minds or whatever. And he's like, he's fully gone to the darkness now. I can see him turning. And meanwhile, he's doing this with his hand and the lightsaber's turning. And he's like, he's gonna kill his true enemy. And it's like, wait, is your mind reading power only able to tell that like those surface level things, like is his mind broadcasting, I'm gonna kill my true enemy? Or can you not like see that he's thinking about you? Whatever.
Yeah.
He kills him, cuts him in half. That's interesting. It's kind of cool. And then like he and she fight those red guys, which might be some of the worst choreography I've seen this side of Dark Knight Rises. I don't know. Have you seen The Dark Knight Rises?
I haven't seen that. I have seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. This is bad, maybe worse. There were some guys in the foreground. Like I don't mind if they do this.
There's guys in the background like
they're just doing that.
just twirling.
But there's guys in the foreground who literally like they don't even get hit and they go and then go over here and they like spin out of frame. And if you watch Ren or not Ren, if you watch Ray, too many are names. If you watch her a couple times, she's just doing this at nothing. There's no one even in front of her. Like in some of the big crowd shots,
Yeah.
I don't know if they just ran out of time on those days, or if the stunt choreographer wasn't there, or if Ryan Johnson was just like, screw it, I don't care, just flail around and we'll make it look good in post. And then he was like, wait, we're in post. Can we make it look good? And they're like, no. Like, I don't know what happened,
Yeah.
but it was the laziest choreography I've seen this side of Dark Knight Rises. I've seen worse choreography. Don't get me wrong. I've seen Replicator 2024. I have seen worse choreography. However, this was pretty bad choreography considering the excellent level at which all the other visuals and all the other staging and the camera work was executed. The choreography sucked. And then like they're basically they just get into a tug of war with the force between a lightsaber, which is kind of funny too, because they're like, ah. But it's like this far away, and I'm thinking, you have another hand. You could just reach up and grab it, but like I guess not. And then they're just doing that for like what I can imagine is 10 or 15 minutes while other stuff happens. And we cut back to them and they're still like, ah. And then the ship gets blown in half and it kills everyone on deck except for Finn and the Korean girl and Kylo Ren, Don Hall Gleason, a few other henchmen, and Rey. But everybody else on the ship is dead.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the whole
plot armor is strong.
Like join me moment is really good. I think all your points are valid. But the join me moment is the most convincing one we've had in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's a motif. It's a motif of Star Wars. The second films have it.
Yeah.
But in the trilogies have it. But this one was like she might.
And
I honestly wish she did.
Kind of, yeah.
Because then from there on, the rest of the movie, like I almost took an exact timestamp of like from when, for the shot of like him being like, join me and like we'll do this together. From there on, the movie kind of starts to decline.
Oh yeah,
for me.
Yeah,
Instantly.
I start squirming
Instantly. So we could end the movie right there, and I'd probably be like, yeah. Leave it ambiguous and make me guess. But
I also think, to your point, that it's from the villain's perspective the most convincing and least over the top join me. Because in the original trilogy, you've got Vader going, join, like this really over the top, like melodramatic thing. And instead, you've got Adam Driver, who's kind of a sympathetic villain, just kind of going, come on, we can do this. It's kind of in that same like casual tone where he was just like, so can you see me?
Yeah.
I can't really see yours.
It's like, come on.
Interesting. Like,
let the past die.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a cool moment. I still don't really know if it was meant to play that way, but it was an interesting moment,
Yeah, I think it was meant to play that way. And yeah, and then I noticed it this time because we set up Finn and Rose, that's the Korean girl, are like surrounded by all these guards, and the ship then hits, and they're just all gone.
They're all gone. Well, except for the shiny, super shiny
Captain Phasma.
Yeah, the female. I thought they were all clones. First of all, aren't all stormtroopers clones?
No.
That was just for the Clone Wars. Some of them were clones.
Yes. And then when the Empire took over, they weren't all clones anymore.
Right. I didn't know there were any female ones.
Yeah.
Like 7 foot tall female ones, which is interesting.
Yeah, interesting. It is. Yep.
Yep, and very shiny, very
Welcome to
like
the sequel
she
trilogy.
clearly polished her suit compared to the other
Yeah.
ones. But she like, if you think I'm wearing that, like what was the, she had like the cape and the wardrobe. I'm like, okay, okay. Some high-heeled boots.
Yeah. Again,
Slay
it's
queen,
kind of that's inherited from The Force Awakens. Kind of.
I guess.
There's blame JJ.
Hey, I mean, I don't really care. I just think it's interesting because you have, we've got however many movies prior to this that set up pretty well like what things are, and then you just have this. That'd be like if Boba Fett and then what was the other one?
Django
Jango
Fett.
Fett. If we had like Bingo Fett in like in the sequel trilogy, and he shows up and he's just like fabulous, and I'm like, he's pink with like polka dots and has like an afro wig on the outside of his helmet, and you're kind of like, didn't know we could do that. Like there's moments in this movie where you're kind of like, didn't know we could do that.
Yeah,
That's new. Didn't know we
that's
could have
valid.
FaceTime, like a spiritual FaceTime through energies. Didn't know that was a thing we could do. Didn't know that Leia could just hold a lung full of air in the vacuum of space and just levitate herself back before passing out. Didn't know we could do that.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yep.
So then
For
we get
sure.
to the end. We get to the planet, which that was cool too. There's like that weird, like, I don't know if it's like a salt crust, and then there's the red under there.
Yeah.
And Dad looked at me, he's like, "Why is it red?" And I'm like, "Because it looks cool." Like that's literally
That's
the
it.
only reason.
Yeah.
It just looks cool. And the vehicles are dumb because they need to like scrape the ground. And it's like, why is that? Well, just so that we can see a lot of red dust in the air. Why? Because it looks cool. So you can see
Hmm.
dust trails. You wanted to see dust trails. Here's the thing that bugs me the most about that ending. I guess you could call it ending number three of what of the potential endings. They're like, oh, that cannon, like this movie, it's good at like good news, bad news. Like good news, we traveled at light speed. Bad news, they can track light speed. We didn't explain how or why, but they can. Good news is our shields can last as long as we're far enough away from them. Bad news, I guess now they're caught up to us. Good news, we're on the escape pods. Bad news, they're killing all the escape pods. Good news, we're in this underground lair. Bad news, they got an extra big cannon that they're going to just blow the doors off with. It just kind of kept doing that, right?
Yeah.
Finn's going to go suicide kamikaze mission, right? And he's going to fly himself into that blaster. Now, that blaster we've established is the only way they're going to get through that gate. Why didn't we let him? Everybody else pulls back. He's committed to doing
Yeah.
what he wants to do. And if he would have flown into that thing and blown it up, that would have solved the problem. Nobody would have got into the gate from there on. You wouldn't have flushed out the rebels. You could have held that position until the villains got bored. Instead, the Korean chick T-bones him, takes him out of the way, ends up getting herself killed in the process. And now, as far as she's concerned, because you died before you could see Luke show up, you just doomed everybody else because they blew a hole in the door, and now you're going to go and kill everybody. So why wouldn't you let him do the kamikaze mission? That ticked me off.
Because she loves him,
We didn't even
which is
establish that.
yeah, which is weird because there's like a love pentagon in this movie. It's
Yeah,
really kind of weird.
tetrahedron of some sort. Yeah, I didn't pick up on any of that. And I was just like, why wouldn't you let him do this? Everybody else pulled back. If you're committed, let him do it. He'll
Yeah.
save everybody. It's like the one and only weapon we've established. It's the only thing that's going to blow a hole in this door.
No, yeah, that's dumb. That's
Yeah.
dumb.
And it was also just from like a character arc moment. That was his moment. I thought, cool, we're going to like kill this character. He had an arc for 2 movies. This is his like, this is his self-sacrificial hero moment. And then we took it away from him.
Yeah.
Why?
It is dumb. It is
Yeah.
dumb.
So that bugged me. And then there's the little crystal foxes. And then the Falcon shows up and diverts a bunch of guys, and they fly through some stuff, which as they're flying through that like crystal tunnel or whatever, I was looking at that and I'm like, that thing had to be a mess to render. I know it's technical and nobody cares, but like the amount of light bounces trying to calculate the fireflies you would have had to have dealt with and all the motion blur would have just exploded every computer. Anyway, they do that, and then like they fly out the other side, and they kind of Krakoa Shaw them out of the movie for like the next 20 minutes because you don't see the Falcon for 15, 20 minutes. They're just gone. And
Yeah.
then Luke shows up.
Well, the Falcon shows up. We have the great line of blow that piece of junk out of the sky.
Right.
Just wanted to point that out. Want to
Yeah.
acknowledge that wonderful moment.
Yeah. Great line, perfect dialogue. And then,
Great delivery.
and then they do that, and then it's gone for like 15, 20 minutes. We don't see the Falcon.
Yeah.
And then
Then we
Luke
get to
does his
ending
thing.
4,
Yeah,
Luke's thing.
Luke's thing, which I couldn't understand why they were able to shoot at him and it didn't kill him. They quickly answer why in about 5 minutes later. And that makes sense, I guess, as much sense as anything else. But he fights him, he does this whole thing. And then it turns out that, like, he's not really there. He sent his spirit or whatever. Luke is remote viewing this thing from his little not Ireland rock, levitating
Yeah.
and like using the force to project himself there. Which is that a thing we established we could do before?
I don't think so.
So like this and the whole like FaceTime thing are two brand new things we added to the canon of like, hey, they could do that now.
Yeah.
Something new's been added. Look under the hood. It's not what you think. Like,
And then it kills him,
yeah, and then he
which
dies.
feels a little weird. Every time it's like, huh. It's kind of how it feels to me. It's like, okay. I mean, the moment it builds to it right, but it still is like, oh, that's right. Huh.
Yeah, I didn't mind that too much. I think the only reason it feels odd is because the audience gets the sense he didn't really do anything because he was just projecting himself. I know it's like taking everything out of him to do that, but if he would have actually shown up physically in person and then died, that would have been, I think, it's just terms that we as human beings can kind of understand a little better. But whatever.
Yeah.
So he did that, and then he gave the rebels time to escape. And that's basically it. And we just get like a couple epilogues with some kids that don't speak English, and
Yeah.
it's the whole movie. There's 2 hours and 30 minutes.
We did it.
We did it. We got through it.
Okay. So, thoughts. You already alluded to that on the Star Wars scale, you liked this movie, which is saying something.
Yeah.
It's actually saying a lot, which is
Yeah.
a lot more than you realize. There are people who will be mad at you
Oh yeah.
for saying that you like this movie as a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. This is a hot take right here. This is going to be super controversial. You're going to be blown away.
I'm gonna
Our
poop my
2.5
pants
listeners.
live on air.
Yeah, I already did right before we started. I was like,
Pooped my pants.
I pooped your pants. This is my favorite Star Wars movie that I've ever seen.
Yay.
Now again, that's ever.
Wow.
That's not saying much because one, I don't really care. Well, seriously, I don't really care about Star Wars. And if we compare it to real movies, it's not that great. But compared to the catalog of the other 6 Star Wars official Skywalker movies plus the Rogue One movie, this by far is the most fun. It's the most enjoyable. It's the most visually spectacular. It's the one I had the best time with because I remember watching the original trilogy on VHS and it was cool. I had my Star Wars phase like every kid has, but you know, they're dated. They are what they are, right? They defined culture. They did incredible things. It started ILM. Everything was groundbreaking for the time, and a lot of the shots still look pretty good, right? But they're not amazing, and they're goofy. And that's what Star Wars is. It's goofy. And then you watch the new trilogy from, 99 and onwards. And you got friggin' Jar Jar Binks, and you got midichlorians, and you got all the dumb crap there, and you got the Clone Wars, and you got, I hate sand. It's rough and it gets everywhere. Like every stupid dialogue, right? And then you get to Rogue One, which I really didn't like that much at all. It was really tedious. And for the first hour, I was just bored and I hated the way it was shot. And then you get to this one and it's like, wow, it actually looks like a movie. I can follow what's going on. I don't particularly care, but there's so many every 10 minutes, I was like, okay. It's not Malignant level, but it's just like, all right, fine. It overstays its welcome, but I'm fine with it, I'm just fine with it.
Wow.
There's the hot take.
I'm honestly go ahead.
Go
no.
ahead. No. I want you to be able to do this because that's going to take us in a whole other direction if I go down that road right now.
I am so pleased. And it's kind of funny because I mean we talk about this on the show that you and I do have very similar tastes in movies at the end of the day. Because So it's
Except for
funny,
Godzilla. As long as it's
except for
not Godzilla.
Godzilla and and 70s Bigfoot films.
Right.
But we'll slowly work closer and closer somehow. I
Yeah.
just know it. When this movie first came out, I really liked it. But even before that was like a crazy hot take because I wasn't really on the internet and I didn't know it was a hot take. Um,
Right.
I really like this movie because it's so different. Because it's the like it's the it's the subversion of Star Wars. It's like the anti-Star Wars while still being so Star Wars,
Right.
while still being space wizard movie, right?
Hmm.
While still having cosmic FaceTimes and all that. Um, and I'll be honest, going into watching it this time, I was really giving it the chance to not like this movie because I know people who I have, who I respect their opinion who really don't like this movie for very particular reasons that have nothing to do with Star Wars. Kind of uh the political reaction to this movie,
Hmm.
which is kind of a silly thing to even say. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it its shot at being bad in that way.
Hmm.
And I watched it this time, and almost from the beginning, I went, no, yeah, I like this movie.
Hmm.
Like as a Star Wars movie, as a movie, I find it enjoyable. Like it's a satisfying experience to watch it, even though the last half an hour is what it is. Um, I like it, and I think that's like kind of that's that's encouraging, in like a kind of funny way. It's like, no, I like this movie and I think it's good, I and I am as a Star Wars fan, I am sad for what it sets up that it just never got a chance to deliver because the fans hated this movie, and I hate to say it because you kind of like this movie. Episode 9 retcons everything.
Really?
Everything. And we can talk about that. It's like,
Everything? Like everything this movie does, it pretends didn't happen.
well, it pretty much undoes everything this movie does. Kylo gets his helmet back, which is kind of a big point of this movie, right? Let the past die.
Hmm.
He doesn't want to be a little Vader. He wants to be his own bad guy. Kylo gets his helmet back. Spoiler alert, you want your mind to be blown. You know, you might know this from pop culture stuff already, but let me remind you. You know how this movie makes a big point that Rey is a nobody? And that's kind of like part of the point of this movie. Turns out Rey's actually a Palpatine.
Okay.
Makes little to no
Hmm.
sense. Like is the granddaughter of Emperor, like the Emperor,
Cool.
which undoes a big chunk of this movie.
Yeah.
And all sorts of little things. Tonally, this movie is not like what came before it and nothing like what comes after. So it's just a bummer that this is what we could have, this is the direction Star Wars could have gone. And I know you don't like Rogue One, but that Rogue One and this is the direction Star Wars could have gone. And enough people were like, it's woke, which this
Mm.
movie isn't. Like, and it's not, it's got its flaws,
Yeah.
but like, and part of its flaws are that certain characters are not great, but it's not perfect, but it's a fun movie that does something different with Star Wars, and we could have gotten that, and instead we didn't. So
Yeah. Well,
instead
so
we
you see,
totally did. This is the high watermark of Star Wars films recently,
uh
with the exception of, and this isn't a movie, but the Disney Plus original series Andor is something completely different that is also really good. That's like, it's a miracle at this point that thing is as good as it is with how everything else they've made is not as good.
Hmm.
And I'm in the absolute minority of a Star Wars fan by thinking The Last Jedi's good Star Wars.
Right. See, so when I went into this, I had that in the back of my mind because I remember when this movie came out, or just after when this movie came out, within a year or two of it coming out. I remember hearing general buzz that people didn't like it. And then in the last few years, when there have been new reviews of other Star Wars, movies, parts of the franchise, stuff Disney's gotten their hooks into, critical drinkers always going on and on about how awful it always is. and Kathleen Kennedy and his big beef with all them. And he always references The Last Jedi as like the thing that was just so stupid, right? And his rancor towards this movie and towards Rian Johnson and everything that it was. And so I went into it with that in mind, thinking I don't know if Andy wants me to watch this movie because it's a good movie or because it's really bad, right? Because I knew just from hearing things that the fans and people in general hated the movie, right? But I looked the movie up before we watched it, and it made like it crossed $1 billion. So it made its profit. Now, granted, that's worldwide, and you're dealing with territories like China and Japan and other places. It's like they don't really care about the characters of the story. They just want to watch a big thing where stuff explodes because that's what translates regardless of language. So I knew that that didn't necessarily mean anything, but I knew that it couldn't have been so unpopular that it tanked, right? Because Solo almost tanked.
Yeah.
Solo made like almost no money. So, and I know people who like Solo, but all this to say, I don't, and this is going to be the other hot take. I don't really get what people hate about this movie. Because, no, I'm going to put it like this. Because you were saying this is kind of like the anti-Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. And like, I know Rian Johnson went on record as saying that he never really particularly cared for Star Wars and he was just going to do what he wanted to do, right? Here's the thing, though. Like, I know that that's the smoking gun everybody points to, and they're like, see, this proves it. Like, he just wanted to shoehorn in his own ideas and he just wanted to just crap on everything that Star Wars was, man. And it's like, well, let's take stock of that, right? What is Star Wars at its heart? Star Wars was a space opera in the style of Flash Gordon, all right? Its source material, if you will, is stupid. It's Saturday morning cartoons, all right? George Lucas is not some master storyteller. He came up with dumb names too. When you watch the cantina scene and friggin' Jar Jar Binks, let's not forget I don't know if this is an unsubstantiated rumor or a real thing. A friend of mine told me this, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to repeat something here without having looked it up, so sorry guys, but I'm fairly certain that Jar Jar Binks was originally planned to be one of the Sith, and then like they scrapped that idea halfway through.
I don't know. I don't know. There's
There's this whole
rumors,
thing
yeah.
where like he's mouthing words that Qui-Gon Jinn is saying, and it's this idea that like breadcrumbs of things he was supposed to lead to later, that when you look back on, you're like, oh, he was controlling people's thoughts and stuff. It's like, even if he wasn't going to be the Sith, the point is the character Jar Jar Binks existed. That's stupid, right? Think about, I hate sand. It's rough and it gets everywhere. Like, think about all that crap from the last two movies that Lucas was in charge of. Think about the dumb character designs. Think about the fantasy elements that don't make any sense. Midichlorians and this and that and everything. Like, when we say that this is the anti-Star Wars and that Rian Johnson just kind of did what he wanted with the franchise, did he really? Or did he just do what Star Wars already was? Because I swear to you, when I watch this movie, the only thing that feels un-Star Wars-like is the Marvel humor. Aside from that, the goofy characters, the dumb creature designs, the kind of ratchety, clanky spacecraft that the rebels are always in, like everything about it still seems the same.
Well, here's where people have beef. Is they have beef, funny enough, with the characters and the characterization of the legacy characters. People hate Luke in this movie.
He's an old man who's like tired of life. What did you
But
think he was going to be?
there's people who are like, well, that's not the Luke that I know. And they let and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where it's like, well, that's not what it is. And my rebuttal is, no, it literally, like, I watched the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That is who he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Luke's always been conflicted. Luke almost turns to the dark side in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So, like, Luke's always been conflicted and confused and not really knowing what's going on.
He was always kind of the weakest, lamest character in the series, honestly. Like, from what I remember, he was always kind of a putz.
And I mean,
whatever.
So, like, explain more, I guess, why people don't like this movie. There's a ton of people who grew up on the prequels who love them, who kind of see them as a perfect, I can't even say these words, as like a perfect trilogy. as like really good movies. Um, and that's what they see Star Wars as. But to your point, this movie does what Star Wars does quite well.
I think
Um,
so.
there's these like high space fantasy moments
Hmm.
that don't need to make sense
Bunch of
because
crazy side characters.
yeah, bunch of craziness, bunch of weird characters, bunch of exposition,
Hmm.
and like, and the anti Star Warsness of it is like, well, that Rey is a nobody.
Hmm.
That that um, it is just over a few days. That it is this like kind of small scale thing. That the villain is humanized
Right.
in a way. That the characters are actually people,
Yeah.
and they do things, and they have story arcs where they all learn this lesson. Like it is what it does differently.
Yeah.
It does,
Well, and you know what it does really well? It doesn't waste our time with really long, like watching people in a Senate discuss politics while Yoda like goes, "We need to like remember that
yeah,
Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, like scenes in a giant Congress where people are like, hey, hey, I think we should do this." Talk about boring exposition. This movie doesn't do that.
yeah,
Like, can't be that bad. Like, I guess this is the thing. Like, I always hear about how, and not just this movie, but the sequel trilogy in general, right? Like these three, seven, eight, and nine. I hear about how like Disney just got its claws into Star Wars and it gutted it and it milked it for all it's worth. Now it is milking it for all it's worth. And there are stupid things that Disney has done with it. However, from this movie and from what little I understand of the movie that precedes it and the movie that comes after, I don't really see anything that George Lucas would have himself done better. I know, treachery,
yeah,
truth, whatever you want to call it, but like when you think about George Lucas's own proclivities and like his sensibilities, he's just as goofy, just as conflicted, and he'll retcon his own crap all the time. Like, I don't know. I don't think he would have done any better than this.
yeah. Well, I'll say nine is awful. Nine is awful, and I'm
Fair enough.
kind of going to pretend like it doesn't exist. It's like a lesson from this time around. Is like I kind of want to live in a world where The Last Jedi doesn't get a sequel because it's so bad.
Yeah.
It kind of, and it makes any flaws from this movie look just fine.
Mm,
um, and Force Awakens is a setup. It's the first movie in a trilogy.
mm.
It's very much so A New Hope the second time around.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. It again, and this is true for nine as well. But they all look great. They all look
JJ
like
knows what he's doing.
yeah. So and Force Awakens is just kind of setting up the story you see here. And there's nothing. I mean, that's what it's the first movie in a series that knows it's a trilogy.
Mm.
Um, and it kind of just introduces us to where we're at, which is pretty much A New Hope but bigger. And what this movie does is it takes that and it inverts it,
Mm.
and now the rebellion is, or the resistance is, just this small group of people, and now Kylo's conflicted and Rey's conflicted, everyone's conflicted, and it's all about how we
Yeah.
can learn from the mistakes of the past
Mm.
and not just live the past over again, which is like a comment on life and
Mm.
legacy sequels that I think is really good and really cool, that like the mistakes are there to teach us
Yeah.
and we should learn from them and not just wallow in them, while also not just trying to repeat the past, is true. Like that's true. I like that message. Yoda has the line, and I wrote it down, that is, the greatest teacher failure is.
Mm. Yeah. Also, when Yoda showed up and called lightning down from heaven to burn up the Jedi tree, I was kind of like, I don't know what we're doing here either, but
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So it's
I mean, it's far from a perfect movie, but I really don't understand the hatred because there's nothing in this that wasn't already present in previous Star Wars movies. And if if what it boils down to is people are mad, if the fans are mad that Luke is just like this crotchety old man who like doesn't really do anything, did he not help? I mean, Ray shows up, and all the information we really get from the entire movie, exposition heavy as it was, is Leia wants you. She never really said to do what. We didn't really know how this one guy was going to stop anything. But when you consider what he did, was he showed up in some way and stalled in order for you guys to escape. That was about as much as anybody was going to be able to do in this movie. So outside of just outright killing Kylo Ren, what else was he going to do?
Yeah.
And you know, I think the other problem is if you would have made Luke this hero who immediately just comes in and starts doing stuff, well, one, you'd have a lot shorter of a movie. Or two, you'd write yourself into the corner where now you have to kill him and then fans are going to be mad because of that. Or if you don't do either of those two things, or if you don't kill him and he is a hero and you manage to stretch the movie out to, 90 minutes to 2 hours or whatever, and then he is heroic and does his thing, then you'll have people complain because, well, now, he was just a hero and nothing stood in his way and he was just good at everything. You're not going to win either way.
Yeah.
Like I understand that from a woke perspective, you're taking an old male hero and you're basically sweeping him under the rug so the girl boss can come in and do better, right? That's the overarching plot of the sequel trilogy. I'll give you that. It's present and it is not ashamed of what it is. We're going to replace this with a black stormtrooper. We're going to replace this with a woman. We're going to do this. We're going to nudge all you old white guys out of here. That is an agenda, and Disney is not good at hiding it. However, in the confines of this film, Rey is just as much a help as the stormtrooper, and he's just as much help as Luke, and Luke is just like, it's a team effort. I hate to sound corporate about it, but like everybody had something to do, and everybody got their moment. Kind of. The stormtrooper didn't really get his moment. He was robbed of that moment by the weird little Korean girl who came in. But like aside from that, even Laura Dern got her moment, and Rey got her moment. She got to use the Force and lift rocks, and all that stuff happened. So I don't see Luke as being different. I don't see his character as being a betrayal. I don't see this movie as not a Star Wars movie. If anything, it's the most Star Wars movie I've ever seen because it takes all the weirdness and all the tropes and it just dials it up. So like it's a freaking space opera, man. It's Flash Gordon. It's like when you think about it, Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were friends and they grew up on like 50s and 60s Saturday morning serials and they went, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we made like movies of that?" And George Lucas did Star Wars and Steven Spielberg did Indiana Jones. They're both B movies. That's all they are. They're overblown B movies. Enjoy them. Like the fandom's way too self-serious about this. I understand that it completely redefined the culture and a genre, and it was a massive success, and it gave us a lot of things, and that's good. And that's why the original trilogy is so important for a lot of reasons. But the sequel trilogy, for being a shameless cash grab, you could do way worse than this. You could have made another Rogue One. Like this movie, for what it was, I think it does what it does well enough. It just needed 30 minutes trimmed out of it. That's really all. And
Yep.
again, I understand the girl boss thing is there, but in this movie, I don't think it was super overt.
Kind of, and it's almost the point of like, well, yeah, Leia's a general, but Leia's been a character. Laura Dern's there,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's just one character who's a woman. Rose is there,
Mm-hmm.
and Rose is just kind of annoying because all she does is she just gives exposition.
Right.
She's not annoying because she's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Her character is just bad, and regardless. You could make that a guy, and that you could, I don't know, gender swap Finn and Rose. The Rose character is still going to be annoying
Mm-hmm.
because they're like she's like a video game sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
She's constantly narrating what's going on. It's like,
She
okay, I
serves
get
no
this.
other purpose.
Yeah. And that's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to be like, oh, well, and Ray's the lead of our series and she's a woman.
Yeah,
But
she's a kind of out of all the characters, not to step on that, but like out of all the characters, because you were saying that, and I agree with you that the characterizations in this movie are really what sets it apart. Ray's character still is basically a non-entity. She
Yeah.
as an individual in this, considering we're going to hang the whole series around her, I mean, Mark Hamill in the original trilogy had some stuff going on, but your lead, to be fair, in any movie or work of fiction is always the least interesting character because they're the proxy for the audience. So they have to be average enough that we can kind of insert ourselves into them. That's why side characters can be super wacky, but if you try to do that with a lead, it wouldn't work. So I get that the leads are always a little bland. She's kind of especially bland compared to the rest of them, but she's serviceable as a lead. I didn't hate her.
Yeah,
She was less insufferable than the one in Rogue One.
I just think to be like, oh well, this movie is so heavy-handed with its
Her
ideologies. It
message.
it's like, is it? Like
I don't think so.
I I don't think it is. And part of it too is like, well, if your issue is just that there are, and I'm not saying this is somebody's thing and I don't want to sound too crazy here, but if your issue is just that there are so many strong women characters,
Hmm.
then that's a different problem.
Yeah.
Like then so and yet like yeah, they are bossy. Yeah, they're like kind of right most of the time. That can be
Mhm.
annoying, but like it's not heavy-handed with it. It really isn't. Look no farther than other movies we've talked about recently for female characters who are always right and never do any wrong.
Right. I'd say Laura Dern's character is probably the only one that starts to kind of cross over that territory, just because her whole character is kind of pointless and the arc is kind of pointless. And that could have easily been a man or a woman. So you can, it shows its hand a bit there, but again, it's not a big issue
Yeah.
in my book. I don't know. All hot takes,
Yeah.
all super spicy, too hot.
So you liked this as a Star Wars movie,
Mhm.
as a normal movie, as any other
It's a
movie.
B movie. Like I said, Star Wars is just big B movies. It's fun. I wouldn't choose this particular B movie over most others if it was a normal night, but if I had to watch a Star Wars movie, this would be it.
That's
So,
fair. It's entertainment. I recently heard somebody say, and I'd love to dig into this more some other time, but compared movies to wine. And I'm kind of adapting that analogy. Their purpose was like talking about somebody who wants to make movies like they would want to make wine. And it's
mhm.
like, well, why do you like it? And it's like, I just like them all. They're just so good. But I
Right.
think like they're an entertainment that's meant to be entertaining at the end of the day. We talk about
Mhm.
that here. So it's like, and some of those are not the best wine ever. Some of them are just serviceable for what they need to be. And I think that's what this movie is.
Sometimes you just want a juice box. You don't even really want wine. You just
Yeah.
want a juice box with a little bendy straw. That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so you like this movie.
Yeah. So what's
Rate.
your I want to hear your opinions before we get to ratings. Like, did you say all you wanted to say?
I feel like I said most of what I wanted to say. I kind of prepared more of a defense for this movie in case I had to defend it to you. But I think we cover and but also kind of to see like get on record where we were,
Hmm.
um, regardless of what you said. But I think we covered it. I mean, it's fun and funny. I think
Yeah.
it's funnier than you do.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
I
love
like that
the nuns.
it subverts franchise expectations well. Rey's a nobody. Kylo Ren ain't all bad. Luke is confused. The legend of these characters is larger than life is explored in the movie. I like the theme. The characters actually grow and learn something.
Mhm.
That's cool. Um, I don't know. I enjoy it. It's an enjoyable time. Like you're saying, it's shot in a very interesting way. Um, it's fun to watch. It looks like they used all their budget
Mhm.
very and used it well. I just think this movie is fun because it dares to do something slightly different and it feels slightly different and it goes for it.
Yeah.
And I'm there for it. I am genuinely bummed that we could have gotten and maybe by this time it would have been so overindulgent that it would have been all right, but we could have gotten a whole trilogy from Ryan Johnson that would have been independent of the Skywalker saga. I would have been really interested in that. That will never be, which is a bummer. I like this movie, and I will not. I tried to not like it this time around, and it kept me. It kept me on its side. So
Good.
yeah. So rate this movie as a movie. We're not going to do Star Wars rating. You already said it's your favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah. I'd give it like a 6.4, 6.5. Like maybe, yeah. I mean, if I was being generous, 6.5. If I wanted to be a little more conservative with it, like a 6.3. So yeah, 6.4. I think it's fine. It's a fun watch. It's entertaining. It's long. Eh, maybe 6.3. It is really long.
Yeah.
Just for that, just it loses a point one just because of that last half hour. So yeah, 6.3 I think would be my actual rating.
Yeah, I think I'd have to give it like a I'm gonna give it a 6.6 because I think it's better than Rogue One.
Oh, it's definitely better than Rogue One.
And I gave Rogue One a 6.5, which was
Yeah.
very
I
generous.
think I gave Rogue One a 6.
You did. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, you did. But I give it a 6.6. It's better. Um, yeah, which that's funny in comparison to some other movies that I've rated on here. But I'll say it. I'll say it. It's a 6.6. I'll stand by that. I'll stand by that. Means I rate it higher than Nightmare on Elm Street, which I think is funny. uh, by point one.
Mm.
Yeah, this movie does not have my heart.
No,
I'll say it, and
no.
I didn't think it had yours. Blow that piece of junk out of the sky has my heart. Kylo in this movie kind of has my heart. As funny as that might be to say. I think he's just a fun character. I think him and Hux's dynamic in the is like the best part of that last half an hour, where like they're constantly like at odds with each other.
Mm.
That's fun. But yeah, good. I'm glad you actually see when you said this is going to be interesting. I thought there was a chance you'd like it for what it is,
Mm.
and I am surprised and happy that that's what it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I was surprised because that first 5 or 10 minutes, I went, well, if the whole movie's this, I'll be fine with that. And it kind of was. And I went, all right. Because the first 10 minutes of Rogue One, I was kind of like, I'm bored. And then I remained bored for basically the
Yeah,
whole movie. So,
awesome. So, do you want to tell me what I'm watching next week, or do we need to figure that out off air?
well, I've been conflicted, much like Kylo Ren, about what I wanted you to watch next week because I wanted to kind of briefly get away from the comedy route that we've been on. I wanted to get you back into some darker material. Um, Part of me really wants to do this thing where we get on board of like the quote four horsemen of disenfranchisement of the 90s. The first one, of course, being Fight Club, which you've already seen. So we would move on to the other three. I kind of want to do that, but I also kind of want to. There's like two other movies I really want to have you watch, and one of the other movies I want to have you watch is an Adam Driver movie, which is on Netflix, which I've been really wanting to dig into for a while, but it is a comedy, kind of. So I'll allow your choice because I can't
No,
decide.
no, no, no,
I
no, no. I
cannot
don't want to.
decide.
Okay, fine.
I truly cannot decide. I was gonna flip a coin, but I can't decide. So you can either watch an Adam Driver movie, since this is what we're talking about, and it'll
Okay.
it'll kind of still be kind of in the comedy vein, so it won't fully like I think it'll be a good transition away from things. Or we can just go full hard stop whiplash and go from Rogue One to Seven. So it just depends on what you want to do.
Let's go with seven. Let's do it.
Want
Let's
to do
just
Whiplash? All right.
jump. Let's get.
We're gonna
Let's.
do David Fincher's mid-90s classic starring Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. We're gonna do Seven next week. And it's gonna rock your boat.
It's gonna mess me up.
All
If you want to stick around and to see me get messed up, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave all your hate comments about why we're wrong about liking this movie wherever you've listened to the show. Send it to your friends who feel similarly about The Last Jedi and how much you guys all hate it, and just
Feel
crap
free to
all over
dox us. Just dox us all over the internet. Talk about how much you hate us and, all that fun stuff.
if you want.
Yeah.
Uh, So that's the show. And may the force be with you.
And also with you.